Oh, he's still sunny side up most of the time, but he's hard-boiled when the going gets tough. What's on your mind tonight? Call now, 521-TALK, 521-8255, to get online with Nick at Night.
All right, let's go back to the phones and talk to Tom in Ottawa. There he is. Hello, Tom.
Hi, Nick.
Hi, Tom.
Yeah, one of the reasons that we're seeing really asinine energy policy and things like the taxes and stuff you were talking about is summed up really well by Jean-Francois Revel, you know, one of the freedom fighters, basically, of France over the last century. He wrote a book called How Democracies Perish, and he said that in our case, this civilization will probably fail due to apathy. In fact, he maintains it'll be the first that we actually see fall because of apathy. And a good example of that I'll tell you about. On Wednesday night last week, I went to Ecology Ottawa's presentation on the future of skiing in a warming world. And, I mean, it wasn't just this, you know, they weren't just talking about skiing and stuff. They were also talking about political activism and encouraging people to write to their MPs and speak to newspapers and blah, blah, blah. So I tried ahead of time, actually, to have them bring somebody in on the panel who was a scientist on the other side who would say what is true, namely that we're actually seeing an increase in snow cover over the northern hemisphere, North America and Eurasia, in winters over the last 50 years. And things like that, which are, you know, really basic facts, and you can check them out on the web. And also to ask them questions. You know, you people are talking about getting rid of fossil fuels. How are you going to run your hospitals and your schools and get your food? I mean, simple questions like that. So anyway, I got up, because they wouldn't, of course, accept a panelist on the other side. They just completely refused, even when I offered to get somebody from a local university for free. So I got up and I asked them point blank. I held up the non-governmental International Panel on Climate Change, which you know is in the studio there.
Right here to my right.
Yeah, and anybody listening can check it out at nipcc.report.com. It's got 1,000 pages in the latest version. I said, you know, there are thousands of scientists who don't think that we're headed for dangerous warming, and yet when I offered to Ecology Ottawa to arrange that one of these scientists come in, and these are skiers themselves, you know, they're not, you know, right-wing capitalists or anything. They're researchers who actually live in the Arctic for part of the year, and they do a lot of the research themselves. And I named Tim Patterson, for example, from Carleton. That sort of person is the guy I presented to the ecology guy as the kind of person that could come in, because Tim actually researches whether the ice roads will continue to operate, bringing supplies to the far north. And he's concluded that we've got 30 years of no problem of operation of the ice roads because they're not melting. So, but, you know, they wouldn't bring anybody in. So I asked the panelists, what do you think of excluding scientists who could come in for free, you know, because they're not on the side of political correctness? You know, do you feel comfortable about that? And it was amazing because somebody in the audience, a woman, jumped up immediately and started to berate me by name. So she was all ready. They obviously had prepared for me. And, you know, they charged me with all kinds of things. And I took the microphone back and started to correct the charges. But no, they cut me off, you know, and they can't hear from me. But, you know, they wouldn't tell someone to sit down who was giving me hell. In fact, the interesting thing is they passed her the microphone. Instead of telling her to behave herself.
Oh, really? So rather than restoring order, they let her fan the flames.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And the thing that's really sad, of course, is they wouldn't let me even respond. I managed to get a few words in edgewise, but then they go back to all their propaganda. People gave me a finger, boo, get out, that sort of thing. And, you know, it really ties into things like Jean-Francois Revel's statements about, you know, where are all the people who can get there? And, you know, it's a free event. It was held at the Museum of Aviation. Why can't they get there and ask these questions that you're bringing up on air? And this is where people have got to be a lot more strong, because the environmental groups, they're not just like, you know, home clubs that get together and sort of talk about the weather. They actually affect society. They write letters. They get out and protest. They actually take action, and they are changing our society, and they are ruining our society. Previous generations went and fought and lost their lives to defend our society, and yet most people in our world now will not even go to their meetings and say, well, that's all very nice, but, you know, that doesn't actually match the facts. And how can you, you know, run your hospitals if you don't have any power? And we need people to get out and to ask these simple questions. I'm not asking them to get into a big argument with them, because that, you know, that sort of ruins your day. But at the same time, just letting them run free rein, which is what's happening now, ends up with stupid government policies.
It would be very interesting to watch what would happen if a bunch of common sense people, I'm not talking about political activists who, you know, rent a mob crowd. I'm talking about just people from, a, you know, let's say if you go back to your aviation museum event, if people who lived in the area, let's say 100 or 200 of them, just showed up at the meeting and sat there, and when their term came, just asked simple questions like, how are you going to run your hospitals if there's no diesel fuel?
Yeah.
You know, And
Totally.
let them, and then when it all calms down after that, somebody else gets up and asks another
Yeah,
question.
and the problem was once I was shut up, they went all back to their fantasy, about the snow going away and we have to stop burning fossil fuels and boo-hoo. I mean, it was just stupid stuff. And yet all they had to do is have somebody say, show us a graph of snow cover in the Northern Hemisphere in the past 50 years of winters. Or show us how you're going to get the electricity that's needed to run our hospitals. You don't even have to have really knowledgeable people ask a question like that. But, most people are so frightened by the aggressive behavior of the Suzukis and others that they just are too apathetic and they don't go. And if nothing else, even if they don't speak out, when somebody who does stand up asks them these questions, then they should cheer to offset the booers on the other side. And my point is that, yeah, we're losing our society to these radical groups, largely because most people don't have enough courage to even go and cheer. I don't expect them to get up and fight the way I did, but at the same time, they don't even go. They give these people a free rein to ruin our society.
Well, the other half of it is a lot of people silently agree with them, even if in their heart they know there's something wrong.
Yeah, although, it's interesting because I wrote an article on this for Canada Free Press, and you can see this on CanadaFreePress.com. It's a website that I like to boost. It actually cites a lot of the sorts of things you bring up. But I got a lot of emails from people saying, way to go, and they sort of feel like saying, yeah, well, then why didn't you go?
Yeah, no kidding. Thanks for the applause, but next time you can join me maybe.
Yeah, so I go back to Jean-Francois Revel. I mean, we're not going to be invaded by communists or anything, but we are losing our society, and it's because people just are letting it happen.
Tom, well, a good call. Thank you very much. Well stated.
Right, thanks.
Appreciate it. All right, let's go talk to the mayor of Bayshore. Hello, Shirley.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm not too bad, thank you, sir.
Good.
That guy is so right. You know what the problem is? We just don't have enough people who will walk the walk, whether it be what he was talking about, whether it be so many other things, the energy, the city issues. Just people just will not walk the walk.